Today marks the beginning of the KFintech's 1500 crore rupee IPO that has kicked off for subscription, and I have with me the MD and CEO of the company, Mr. Sreekanth Nadella, joining me right here. Good to have you, Mr. Sreekanth, on the show. First of all, I would like to ask you the rationale behind the timing of this IPO, and how confident are you of creating shareholder value given the fact that the mood is pretty cautious heading into next year?
Thank you, and thanks for having me over. Well, as I say, there is no good time to enter the market, is it? There, I mean, we believe that it's our business has been there for 37 years, right? And it is based on the financialization of Indian markets, which we are extremely bullish about from a long-term standpoint. The areas that we operate in is broadly almost every asset class, whether it's equity or mutual funds, bond markets, alternate investment funds, pensions, private retirement schemes, India and a bunch of other countries beyond India, isn't it? And over a sustainable period, I'd like to believe that all these asset classes will grow and expand quite substantially. And us being the market infrastructure provider, it is absolutely necessary for people like us to be able to render those services on an augmented manner. And given that, we are bullish in terms of the growth that we can chart for ourselves, basically along with our client over a period of time. And timing, yeah, this is not a good time. I think we're all right. We started our process about a year back, and here we are.
Right. We understand that this is an offer for sale by the General Atlantic Singapore, right? So they are looking to sell stake, but give us some color on how much of the stake will they hold after this IPO?
Sure. So General Atlantic, pre-divestment has a stake of close to 75%, and with the stake sale of about 1,500 crores, which is pure OFS as you've mentioned, their stake probably will be around 49% odd. Of course, that's entirely dependent on the subscription and the price band, the price at which it will get sold out. But we believe it will be around 48 to 49%.
Right. Given the duopolistic nature in the business that you're operating in, what would you say sets you apart from your listed peer CAMS? And what are the growth targets that you are looking at for the next 1 or 2 years?
See, CAMS and us, we've been peer group for the longest time, and we have the greatest of respect for each other, and we believe there is enough space for both of us to continue to grow. Right, and we compete with them in mutual funds and alternate investment funds. We partner with them in creating certain industry initiatives such as MF Central, so on and so forth. We do not compete with them in issuer solutions. They are not present. Another entity called Link in Time is present in that space. We are also differentiated in the form of our international operations, which the other players aren't there at this point in time, and also a decent amount of our revenues have started to come through our technological offerings, largely
right.
in terms of products and platforms. For the period ending September 2022, 6% of my total top line came from platforms, right? And we believe those are probably some of the differentiators. And in terms of growth, well, see, historically, if you've seen, for the period ending September 2022 as well, we've grown about close to 19.8%. compared to our peer group, could be about 12 or 13%, and prior to that, the CAGR of 25%.
Right.
Well, in terms of growth, of course, as I said, we continue to believe in the structural financialization of savings in India, movement from savings to investment as a theme, and given any asset class that people would invest, eventually we will be one of the providers for that.
Right, this is another question I want to ask. There are some ongoing investigations by ED and CBI in erstwhile promoters, Karvy as well as C Parthasarathy. Do you expect that to dent investor confidence going forward?
See, KFintech's promoter is General Atlantic Partners. Yeah, KFintech had moved away from the Karvy group nearly about 3 years back.
Sure.
And GA's investments into the company and being the majority shareholder happened sometime around late 2017 to early 2018, well before whatever has happened with one of the other group companies.
Right.
We have had no correlation and no relationship with the other group companies, and we continue to not to have. And as a matter of additional caution, when the situation with the other group company had taken place, we have had a complete delineation at a management level, at a shareholder level. The promotership status has been taken away, and General Atlantic Partners took over the official promoter status. So we have had no relation or dependency, since then. And in fact, if you see the growth trajectory over the last 3 years, it had been far superior even when compared to the past. So, I'd like to believe that, there is no hangover, both in terms of the business as well as the investor shareholding confidence.
Right. Give us some color on the kind of margins that you're expecting over the next 3 to 4 years.
Well, I'm sure you appreciate the fact that I won't be able to give future guidance, but the past trends, are indicative in terms of our growth profile. Of course, we need to factor into certain headwinds and tailwinds. I think headwinds definitely have been certain amount of wage inflation that we have seen, given it's a people intensive work and a technology intensive, and technology costs have been going going up.
Sure.
But of course, we have a well diversified portfolio, right? I mean, only 65% of my revenue comes from mutual funds in India. About 15% from international operations, another 13-14% from issuer solutions, about 6% from value-added solutions. So we have a good, balanced portfolio where I'm not dependent on a single asset class for a single country, right? Which may see a cyclicality.
Sure. About your expansion plans, have you factored in anything for the next 1 or 2 years, or in fact, if you look at a broader horizon, around 5 years, and any strategy to gain more market share going forward?
Our expansion plan, so we have a formal, board committee constituted for the purpose of business development. It's called the Business Development and Strategy Committee, and we regularly meet to understand the growth trajectory, both in terms of expanding operations geographically as well as in terms of broader asset classes, right? And it is through some of these that we managed to move into the national pension system or the private retirement schemes, or move into Southeast Asian economies such as Malaysia and Philippines and Hong Kong at this point in time. We continue to believe that offerings and the platforms are fit for purpose for most of the geographies, not just these three.
Okay.
And not just Southeast Asia, but even US and Europe as well. Recently, we have made an acquisition of a company called Hexagram. It gives us a unique ability to administer fund accounting administration, which is the asset side of a fund manager. As a registrar and transfer agent, we take care of the liability side of a fund manager, which is your investor.
Sure.
So now we are effectively the only player in the market who can deliver both of them in a truly integrated manner, in addition to the digital ones.
Sure.
And these are very relevant propositions for the rest of the world. So we are intentful of expanding, and of course, the more definitive plans as they fructify will be taken to the market.
Sure. Well, thanks a lot for joining in. Congratulations on the IPO, and we look forward to speaking to you once again when the stock lists on the exchanges. Thanks a lot for joining.
Thank you so much.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on this Moneycontrol live stream. We'll be back with more market updates. Stay tuned.